Hello and welcome back. So up until now we've been focusing very much on the visual aspects of this page, these displayed elements, but now we're going to turn our attention to writing JavaScript code. And the way we do that is we add a script block to the web page. So if I put console.log hello, what will happen is when this page is opened, the browser will notice there's a script block and it'll execute any JavaScript contained inside it. So we can see on the right hand side in the console window, hello has appeared. Incidentally, we don't need to type console.log. There's actually a shortcut for it in Visual Studio Code. I can just type log and hit return and it'll do the typing for me. And I can just add hello like that. Now, more often than not in console log statements, we frequently use them for debugging and we want to display the value of variables. So let's say I've got const value equals Fred, something like that, and I want to see what's in the variable value. I can use what's called template strings. So replace its ordinary string with a template string, which just means it's surrounded by backticks. And now I can use what's called string interpolation, which means converting expressions or variable values into strings. So if I put $ and open and closing curly braces, this is a special syntax which means convert the expression inside the curly braces to a string. So if I put value in here, it'll work out the string that's contained in value and it'll substitute this expression here for Fred. So you can see on the right hand side, it's now printed hello Fred, and we're going to use this over and over again. Now, whilst using a script block is fine if we just want half a dozen lines of code, it's obviously not going to be sufficient if we want to write a major program. When we're writing a large piece of software, we tend to structure the code into functions that are contained in files. So we'll start that right now. I'll create a file called main.js. And I'll move our 2 lines of code into that file. It's a start. And then I need to tell the script where to find the source code. So I say source equals main.js. And you can see it's printed out hello Fred. And as I mentioned, we typically organize our code into functions. So let me create one right now. I'll say function log. And the syntax is we follow the function name by parentheses, and then these braces actually contain the code for the function. So I will just move our existing code into this function. But to make anything actually appear, we need to call the function. So I'll call the function like this. I just take the function name and put parentheses after it. That means call the function. And again, hello Fred has appeared. Now, before I start debugging this, I think it's worthwhile just having a bunch of functions that we can step through, or function calls. So I'm going to expand this a little bit. I'll create yet another file called example functions, and I'll put that on the screen. Just reorganize my screen just a bit now. And I'm going to move my log function into that file. And you might expect this to all work still, but it's failed. And there's actually 3 changes I need to make to get this working again. The first is I need to export this log file. That means make it visible to, if you like, the world outside of the example functions file. And the next thing I need to do is import it into main.js. After all, there could conceivably be other files containing exported functions called log. We need to tell main.js exactly which log function we want to import. So I'll say import log from, and then /example functions.js. You'd have thought that all worked, but actually this import and export syntax requires a small change in the script tag. I need to say that the type of syntax we're using is called module syntax. And now everything will work just fine. We can see Hello Fred has reappeared. Now I'm just going to add a few more functions in to make debugging a little bit more realistic. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function called log message. And all this is a function that takes a parameter message and prints that out. And I need to import that over here. And then I can use it. I can say log message my message, and you can see over on the right hand side that's now appeared. And finally I'm going to write another function, export function make message, and it's going to take a message as a parameter and it's going to return a string. And we're going to use that template syntax again. And the string is going to contain the message that was passed in. So I can put $message. So at present, make message just returns what was passed to it. So let's actually look at that in action. If we say make message, let's call it MSG, just to stay consistent. Make message, and if I now say log message make message and passed in, we can see that what's happened is make message has been called with the string passed in. It's returned exactly the same string passed in, and log message has printed that out, passed in. Now I'm now going to enhance this, and I'm going to add a time, so I can use a bit of JavaScript magic here. Add a time string, and then I can enhance this message, so I can say $time string colon message. And now we can see that we've got a very, very basic logging system where we pass it a message and it timestamps the message. So at 10:14, the message was passed in. That's quite a lot in a single lesson. So I'm going to stop the lesson here. And in the next lesson, we'll move on to arrow functions and higher order functions. So I'll see you there.